All right, so those are the liberal philosophies. Let's look now at the affirmation of Christian truth. Highlight the fundamentals. Highlight fundamentalists. These were those who encouraged people to stand in the fundamentals. And highlight what the fundamentals are. So highlight the fundamentals of the Christian faith. Those are in bold at the very bottom. And then highlight these things. The fundamentals of the Christian faith are the inspiration and inerrancy or accuracy of the scriptures, the deity of Christ, his virgin birth and miracles, his blood atonement for sin, his bodily resurrection, and his personal return. Let's look at the defenders of the faith in Britain. Highlight this guy's name, G. Campbell Morgan, and highlight that he was known as the Prince of Expositors. And he was a very, very influential speaker. Down farther along the column, highlight Oswald Chambers. And highlight that he's most famous for his devotional, My Utmost for His Highest, still widely read today and still very influential. Highlight this guy's name, Rodney Gypsy Smith. He got that nickname Gypsy because he was in fact born in a gypsy wagon. He became one of the most famous revival preachers in the world. On the next page, highlight the Welsh Revival. Highlight the dates, 1904 and 1905. Highlight these guys' names, Seth Joshua and Evan Roberts. They were the two most influential evangelists here. Below that, highlight that approximately 100,000 men, women, and children came to Christ during this revival. All right, so those were defenders of the faith in Britain. Let's look at this next guy. He was from Canada. So highlight that he was a Canadian pastor and highlight his name, T.T. Shields. Highlight that he was a leading authority on Romanism. On the next column, highlight fundamentalism in America. Highlight this guy's name, R.A. Torrey. So he was exposed to liberal ideas, but he overcame his own doubts and became a very popular and influential evangelist. So highlight that he became known as the apostle to the skeptics. Having been a skeptic himself, he was very uniquely capable of turning other skeptics to the truth of the Bible. Highlight Billy Sunday. Highlight that he was a converted baseball star. Highlight that in almost 50 years of preaching, Billy Sunday spoke face to face without a public address system, so it's a microphone, without that, television, or radio. Without any of those modern conveniences, he spoke face to face with an estimated 100 million people. So one of the most influential evangelists of the 20th century. Turning to page 366, highlight liberalism and conservatism in the arts. Highlight music, painting, sculpture, and literature. You'll need to know that these things are considered the arts. Highlight modern art. And highlight Impressionism. On the next column, you're going to highlight these things for Impressionism. It's all about the effect of changing light. They used light colors and almost always avoided black. So highlight those things for Impressionism, effect of changing light, light colors, avoided black. And Impressionist paintings are usually really pretty. I think they're pretty cool. Unfortunately, after Impressionism came the 20th century trends, not so pretty. Highlight this term, Cubism. And highlight Spanish painter Pablo Picasso. He emphasized random geometric forms, and I was hoping to create a new reality in viewers' minds. Honestly, if you look at Pablo Picasso's work, it looks like something very badly done by, a 6-year-old. But this was modern art. Highlight abstract art, and highlight that this was art for art's sake. It was all about the artist expressing their own subjective thoughts and feelings, and it was just a chaotic arrangement of shapes and colors. But in the midst of all of this, we did have some conservative art, so highlight the influence of conservative art. Highlight this lady's name, Beatrix Potter. And for her, highlight The Tale of Peter Rabbit. This was the first modern picture book that she illustrated. Highlight this guy's name, Ernest H. Shepard. And highlight what he was known for, Winnie the Pooh and The Wind in the Willows. And then highlight the most beloved illustrator of all time was Norman Rockwell. And he would illustrate things that were considered dear to the people, their homes, their children, their towns. Really, he was known for illustrating everyday life. And a lot of it was very humorous scenes. And in all, his covers appeared on 300 Saturday Evening Posts. On the next page, highlight modern literature. Highlight Flight from Reality. And this was all about rebellion, leaving objective reality and creating your own ideas of reality and morality. So it was glorifying immoral lifestyles, really. Highlight socialist writers. Highlight George Bernard Shaw and H.G. Wells. They were some of the most well-known of the socialist writers. And then on the next column, highlight Sinclair Lewis. He was an American socialist writer. And then highlight conservative writers. And these guys stood against the socialist ones, and they were expressing wisdom and traditional values and morality. So highlight this guy's name, J.R.R. Tolkien. And highlight his best-known works, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Classic series. Highlight George Orwell, and highlight Animal Farm in 1984. And Orwell was known for portraying the horrors of the totalitarian state. So Animal Farm, he used farm animals, kind of an interesting story there. And then 1984 was all about, like Big Brothers watching and the government control and all of that stuff. So illustrating what life was like under a totalitarian state. Next, highlight this guy's name, C.S. Lewis. Highlight what he was best known for, The Chronicles of Narnia and the Screwtape Letters. And then last name to highlight there, T.S. Eliot. Highlight his best known story, The Journey of the Magi. All right, and then let's turn the page to 368. Highlight the 20s and the Great Depression. Highlight the prosperity of the 20s. Highlight an era of optimism. As the 20s dawned, World War I had ended. People were hoping for normalcy, prosperity. The war was over. They were hoping for, continued world peace. So let's look at the attempts at peace. Highlight the Paris Peace Act. Highlight the date, 1928. And highlight the purpose of the pact. It's in italics there. It was renouncing war as a means of settling international disputes. It's kind of humorous to think today that they really truly believed that they could do this. They believed that they could, highlight this, outlaw international war. Highlight also that 62 nations signed the pact. They really, really believed that they had outlawed international war. And of course, in just a couple decades, they're going to find out that they were very, very wrong. Highlight America becomes the world's banker. Before World War I, the economy had revolved around Europe, especially England. So highlight that. Revolved around Europe, especially England. But then, bottom of that paragraph, you have the italicized words there. Highlight those. America became the leading industrial nation and the financial center of the world. On the next page, very top of the first column, highlight to pay the extensive war debt placed on it. The German government printed large amounts of paper money. Highlight the term inflation. Know the definition for this. It was an excess of money in circulation. It makes the value of the money go down and prices go up. Highlight this. By autumn 1923, a loaf of bread cost an incredible 480 million marks. So it shows you just how little their money was valued at. So the people were broke, they were struggling, and Germany had to turn to the United States, the new financial center of the world, in order to help them. And they became almost completely dependent on American capital in order to keep themselves afloat. And that's going to be very important as we get into the Great Depression, because once America collapsed, a lot of other countries collapsed as well because they were so dependent. Highlight the West abandons free trade. So more control was given to governments in order to control the economy, to control industry, and the shortage of gold, it led to more tariffs. It led to the gold standard being taken off of money, and it was all based on the manipulation of money and credit. So that led to easy credit. Highlight that on the next column. This encouraged people to go into debt. It was low interest rates. People were buying cars and washing machines and all kinds of brand new appliances on credit. And that is going to be very important as we get down into the Great Depression here.